Uh, Greetings, brothers and sisters. Let me get these slide up. I know it's a button to do this. What does it look like that? I don't like that. Sludge. We have any applications? Any application to get today? Yes, I do. In the car. What's going on with this one? Yes, we are. Third slide. Don't do that retarded thing. Okay, it's doing retarded. Okay, I see. Come on. All right, this is cool. This is cool. All right, y'all, everything's good. Greetings, brothers and sisters. Tonight is November 28th, 2023. It is, what time is it? 8:13, 12? 8:12, about 8:12 p.m. This is the Dr. Julius Nyeri, CBPM, UNIA Division 421 Officers Training for the year 2023. This is our 10th session. Tonight we'll be going over the questions from lesson 8, and we're doing the reading for lesson 9. So I actually got a typo in there. That's 8, right?
That's chapter 8, right?
Say again.
Chapter 8.
We will be doing the questions for lesson 8. He doesn't call them chapters.
Okay.
Lesson 8. Let me get out of there so we can do the pledge. If you would, please come off mute, put your back fist in the air and say the pledge to the red, black, and green flag with me. Okay. I commit my body, mind, and spirit to the protection, defense, and security of the red, black,
and green.
I
I
dedicate
dedicate my life to the
redemption
redemption of Mother Africa and the liberation of our scattered Black children.
I accept for
Except
myself
for myself and my descendants
of
the
universal
teaching
African nationalism,
nationalism, and I promise that our
instilled
children will be instilled
with the purpose
and knowledge of themselves, African people,
in
in order that the cause of our struggle neither falter nor fail
until
until
all
all Black people are free and united through one God, one aim, one destiny.
Race first.
Race first.
Okay, want to get back to the oath. We got to keep in mind, this is extra. Well, I might make this a test question. Who is the author, or who is credited as being the author of the oath of the School of African Philosophy? Which of the graduates from 1937 was able to preserve the oath of the School of African Philosophy? The answer to that question is Sister Eleanor White of the state of Illinois, Commissioner of the state of Illinois. So our brothers and sisters in Chicago, they love when we talk about message to the people, course of African philosophy. They love when we give credit to it and give, praise because, say again, the city of Chicago, state of Illinois. And the reasoning is because Charles L. James was a president in the division in Chicago. And Sister Eleanor White, I believe, was also a part of the Chicago division. So, this preserves a lot of the legacy our brothers and sisters out of Chicago, in addition to Marcus Garvey, obviously. So Eleanor White is the sister that gave us the oath of the School of African Philosophy. Tonight, we've had our lady president read, we've had our lady vice president in training read the oath. Let's see, Attorney Emotep, would you like to read the oath of the School of African Philosophy this evening?
You're gonna have, can you make it larger? It's too small.
Yes, I can, yeah, let's see.
All right.
Oh, what is that? Okay. Is that better?
I'm afraid not. That's, yeah, this is, I don't see a change. It looks like this isn't a full length screen here. You have it on the manager.
Can you pull it up on your phone and see what they see? I thought they saw this. One moment. What? Okay. There we go.
That's not much better, unfortunately. Yeah, that's still.
Are you reading via phone? Attorney, what's up?
No, not from the phone. This is the computer, the desktop computer, and you have this screen is narrow. It's not full length of the computer screen.
Okay, Bob James, you want to volunteer for this evening? Read the oath of the School of African Philosophy. Insert your name.
Which name?
The name that you answered to God to. Yeah.
I, James Swanson, do solemnly swear before Almighty God that I have entered upon the instruction of the African School of Philosophy conducted by Marcus Garvey for no other purpose than to serve the Negro race through the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League, of which he is President General, and that I shall not use the knowledge so gained to promote or advance the interests of any other organization. I shall confine myself always to the service of Universal African Negro Improvement Association and work within the framework of the organization for any promotion I may deserve for the improvement of my race. I shall never divulge or reveal any of these lessons I receive to anyone, and shall never allow the lessons or records therefore of to fall into the hands of anyone. Shall safeguard the same with my life from falling into the hands of other races. I shall also use all my energy and ability to advance the interests of the Universal African Improvement Association, and shall never be in the rebellion against it. And to this I swear myself, my honor, my sacred trust, and should I fail this oath, may the just reward be meted out of me, so help me God.
Praise first.
Praise first.
Thank you, Brother James. And I see that I need to make a correction. Purpose then to serve. All right. Okay. Any questions or comments before we get started? So project loud. All right. All right, first question, I guess, and we'll, I got a couple questions here. What is society and what is its purpose? That sounds right. Can you say that louder so that everybody can hear you?
Society is an organization of mankind to safeguard and protect its own interests.
What was the first part? I got to protect its own interests.
Safeguard.
Society is an organization of mankind. Okay.
Safeguard.
That's absolutely correct. As Garvey writes in the,
Protect the public.
that's the purpose, is to protect its own interests. How does this relate to lesson 7? And I know this is a tough question, but I have to ask it. And we got to remember what lesson 7 was and what lesson 7 talked about. But there was the first question that we asked in lesson 7 that relates to lesson 8. So how does lesson 7 relate to lesson 8? Good character means?
The demonstration of the precepts of the civilization. The standard that was laid down by society.
Did y'all hear our lady president?
Not all of it.
Lady president, can you say that again louder? That's what I was looking for.
Good character means the demonstration of the kind of behavior that meets the moral precepts of a civilization. The standard that is laid down by the society of the time in which you live, and which forms a part of and guides that very character.
So basically the takeaway for this is chapter or lesson 7 said that good character is determined by your society. And now in lesson 8, we're getting a definition of what a society is. So we're defining that group that determines what is good or bad behavior. That's the relationship. Organization of mankind to safeguard and protect its own interests, maintain the greatest good for the greatest number. If we got time, I'll go back to those lesson 3, question 4, lesson 7, question 2. If somebody has that, we can talk about that later. I don't want to move around and go to it. What are characteristics of society? How is a society made evident? What are characteristics of society? How is the society made evident? That's actually the purpose. Society is intended to maintain the greatest good for the greatest number. That goes into the purpose. But what are the characteristics of the society? How is the society made evident? How do you know that you're looking at a society? What characteristics does a group or organization display for us to identify them as society, according to Garvey?
Laws and regulations.
Regulations, rules, and laws. Okay. Yep, regulation, rules, and laws. Members of society must obey laws. So page 67, anybody got that on page 67? Are your pages the same? See what I'm saying? It talks about regulation, rules, and laws.
69 talks about regulation, rules, and law.
Can you read what you got?
When society is organized and is made evident by regulations, rules, and laws, every member of that society must obey the said rules, regulations, and laws. Therefore, always live up to the organization, the organized system of society of which you form a part. The only alternative to that is rebellion. You should never join rebellious movements.
Slow down. But yes, rules and laws, and members of a society must obey those laws. When we move from organization to government, we will have, we have rules and laws, and we will have to obey those rules and laws. And that's how we can identify other societies, because they have rules and laws that the population obeys and adheres to. So, questions, comments? Come out. You doing well? You doing all right? Well, my brother, hold on, my brother. I'm actually I'm in an important meeting at the moment. I just answered because I wasn't sure if it was an emergency. Thank you, my brother. I'll do that. All right, research. Sorry about that. No questions, comments on any of these questions so far? As Sister Diane was alluding to, and I guess, kind of cat out the bag, spill the beans. What is the only alternative to the organized system of society, according to Message to the People?
Rebellion.
Rebellion, pretty much. So again, we're building up this definition of society, and this is one thing that I love about Garvey. And we even talk about it in the orientation. I think Dr. Amos Wilson talked about 7 constants, and one of those constants was the power to define. But this is what I love about this portion of the text, is how Garvey takes the initiative to redefine these words, or at least, define it in his own terms, so that, as we move forward, as we talk, as we have discussions amongst Garveyites, when we say words like leadership, when we say words like society, when we say words like elocution, we know exactly what we mean. When we talk about the aims and objects of the UNIA, we know exactly what we're talking about, because we have a agreed upon definition. So Garvey is defining a society. He says that society is organization of mankind to safeguard and protect its own interests, maintain the greatest good for the greatest number. So this is when groups of people, organizations come together, groups, families, tribes, or whatever, organizations come together and form, communities. And once you start to have these communities, in order to protect what you have created, you have to have rules, regulations, and laws. And those rules, regulations, and laws must be obeyed by its citizens. And Garvey just followed up, when individuals in a society don't obey the rules that have been established, you get rebellion. So very straightforward so far. I just want everybody to, build it up as it's being presented. I'm not changing anything or altering the message, just providing another level of understanding. Next question. What does Garvey mean when he says you should always seek to have something at stake, and something at stake in the community in which you live? He says, quote, you should always have something at stake in the community in which you live. What is he talking about?
property of some kind.
Property of some kind. What does that mean? In respect of the community.
Ownership rights.
Yes, ownership rights. Ownership. That's a very important concept. We're not intended to rent or lease or borrow. We are owners. And with ownership comes the responsibility of ownership. You must protect what you have. You must maintain what you have. So when you become a part of the community and a owner of part of the community, you're telling the community that you take responsibility for this piece of space, you know, and you will take care of this piece of space. So own property, worthwhile citizens, it's the evidence of status. Government recognizes property owners. I believe that's first, but government recognizes property owners. So if we want to be a part of the society, you know, we should have a level of ownership in the society.
Pardon me?
In the community. Attorney Imhotep, you
Yes.
brother.
You need something?
All right. That's a private conversation. Any questions, comments? We should have a level of ownership in the property. We should have stake in the property, in the community. We should be, what does he say? Worthwhile citizens. That's the word. So when we go to city hall or city council and we tell them, you know, I stay here, I live here, I pay taxes here, that gives you authority and a right to state your claims, even though it still has to be done in the right fashion. But it's not like someone who resides in a whole nother state. They really have no say as to what goes on in our local community government. What type of attitude should we adopt toward the police and why? According to Garvey. Respect.
Because the police is that civil body officials who are supposed to protect the citizens and see that their rights are not infringed.
Yes, ma'am. I like how you stress that supposed. Friendly, supposed to protect the citizens, per their ideal design. Police are maintainers of peace and you know, not much more. So they're supposed to protect the citizens and protect the citizens' investment. And unfortunately, sometimes they have to protect the citizens from each other. But Garvey promotes us to have a friendly attitude toward the police. They are not intended per their design or ideal design. They are not the public enemy, but they're supposed to be the public protector. Questions, comments on that? All right. Why should you help the police to maintain order? According to Message to the People, Course of African Philosophy.
To maintain order, because if the community loses its peace, you will have riots and probably bloodshed. No peaceful citizen wants to be taught in such a dangerous state of
Absolutely. Did everyone hear our Lady President? If community loses peace, we will have riots. But again, think of it as building up society. We just talked about being owners in the society. We talked about the ideal or the supposed position and role of the police. So now this question is talking about if you know, number 3 does happen, if people don't abide by the rules and laws that have been established, and there's no one there to to rectify that situation, you'll have riots. And again, as investors, as owners in the community, we have a stake. So if the community is burned down, our property is burned down as well. So we're building a society, and think of this as an ideal society. May not be what we consider realistic, but when these terms are created, at least from an African standpoint, they're created, from an ideal sense. So when someone thinks of creating a society, or when we as Africans and Garveyites think of creating a society, it is to benefit the greatest good for the greatest number, not what we see today. Questions, comments?
This is not a steadfast rule, but I think, and this might sound a little stereotypic, but I think most time the people that are rioting are people who are disenfranchised and fed up with the way the system of things are, not necessarily property owners. But that's not to say that no property owners never riot. It's like people who are rioting, they're not thinking they've got something to lose.
Right.
They've kind of given up, disenfranchised, don't have anything to lose. They don't give a crap what they destroy. But that's stereotypic.
I think that's a valid consideration. Anyone else? Okay, number 7. What 2 ways does Garvey recommend to achieve objectives in a civilized society? Garvey gave 2 recommendations if we wanted to achieve objectives in a civilized community. Sorry. What did Garvey recommend? Civilized community. Not yet. Hold that one. It should be before that. Good reason and good judgment. I know that's very general, but it's more so just making sure we pay attention to the details in the text. I'm not going to define those. I think we can define those as we go through the course, but I think it'll be different for each of us. But we know that there's a right and a wrong way of doing things. So use good reason and good judgment to achieve objectives in a civilized society. You got enough paper, Mom? Any questions, comments?
I know we're going on the text, but and I'm not an advocate of rioting per se, but when the police don't do what they're supposed to do, like shoot on innocent young people, innocent young people, unarmed rather, young people, isn't there any cause for rioting in that case? I mean, in terms of, to some extent, doesn't it have its place? It's kind of like, yeah.
This is tough for me. I have to try to give a unbiased, neutral position. Personally, what's the definition of rioting? Look that up. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the actual definition is. I think it'd be good to know. I think the word, rioting is. I think the rioting is the wrong word. The word that we
Riots. Oh, did you look it up? My fault. Riot is a violent disturbance of peace, is what it says on there. That's what it says when you look it up.
Oppressively large or varied display was also included. But violent disturbance of peace, we have, again, definition of terms. We have to be very careful about what it is that we I don't want to say promote, but are suggesting, I guess. So the word that I was leaning towards is civil disobedience. So let's get away from the attitude of, oh my goodness, am I sure? I wasn't sharing screen. Okay, that's good. We have to get away from that mindset and mentality that comes with the word rioting, and be more civil disobedience. And with civil disobedience, that comes a detailed level and understanding of what the rules and laws are, and basically, how to toe the line, so to speak, but come right up against, what is legal and what is illegal, but just stressing our situation and our position. But we have to do, be as best as we can of not crossing that line. But civil disobedience is what I would recommend. Sister Diane,
Yes, sir.
what are your thoughts?
I suppose it's another definition. But they'll call rioters mobs and stuff like that too. But yeah, we want to respect the police, and police maintain order, and we want to help the police. But sometimes it's really, you don't know what else to do but riot when there's situations such as what I described earlier. So I guess we have to think of a way to handle these things, maybe without rioting, or to quench a group that wants to riot if they see or smell injustice, or if somebody creates an injustice, whether it's a law officer or not, that they don't just get away, because it kind of sends the wrong message and maybe make others feel that it's okay to some extent.
Yes, I understand. We definitely don't want to give the idea that they can get away with it. I agree with you 1,000%. It's just how we express that disdain is the best word that comes to my mind. How we do that, I think, is something that we have to consider, not only, as Black people, but as Black leaders. We're not, if we are in that type of situation where there's a riot, we're not just members of the riot, we are leaders, so we are directing individuals and promoting what the next steps are. So we don't just participate, but we lead these types of demonstrations. All right. We will keep it going. Next question, number 9. And to answer some of your questions as far as what we should be doing, I think some of that is answered in this lesson, how to approach it. We just got the answer of good reason and good judgment. And that's, so that's 2 things we should take away thus far. We'll get some more solutions as we get through the lesson.
Gotcha.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just want to ask, I was want to chime in on that, Sister Diane. He says to maintain peace in the community.
No, that's where you're going.
Hold on, I'm just one. But he says you're not in the community to overthrow the law in that community. So I've mentioned before that I personally don't partake in the rioting or the protesting or such, because there's other ways that you go about it. Marcus Garvey was a man of prestige, where he used his printing and his the way that he wrote out his things. So he often wrote to the government, he normally wrote to the officials, he normally went to go see them. So it's a way and protocol that you go about to get those answers answered, you know what I mean? So rioting and tearing up things and making it a dangerous situation is what Garvey says what not to do, because it's ways and it's political ways that you go about it, and he's about to go into it right here in this political pool right here. So that's just my challenge.
Excellent chime in. And I do apologize for halting your progression. Let it go, let it flow. Last thing I'll say, but what is the alternative to the police? If we don't have a presence to protect our own communities, then we really shouldn't be rioting against the police. So that, we just got to think about that. But yeah, Lady President was giving y'all answers to some of the upcoming questions. That's why I was trying to slow her down, but I like it. What is the national aspiration of the race of African people? And a tip is related to lesson 3. I think we mentioned some of this in lesson 3. Yeah, lesson 3, we talked about, because we have the motto, one God, one aim. And we touched on that aim. And in my understanding, that is the one aim for us as a government. So national aspiration of the African race, according to Garvey.
Reclaim the fallen and universal universal confraternity.
Well, you were going into the aims and objectives themselves. Yeah. So I've got page 71 and then 36. If someone could help me with that. National aspiration of the race is to find expression not in revolution, but in sovereignty in our own land in Africa. I'm pretty sure that's our national aspiration. If someone could help elaborate on that. National aspiration of the race is to find expression not in revolution, and something else. I'll find it. Y'all go.
The national aspiration of the race is to find an expression not in revolution where you are established, right, when you are under other people's government, but to accomplish the end in Africa.
There we go. So back to rioting. What are we rioting? That's our end goal is not our end goal is that sovereign land on the continent of Africa. So we do want to express that some things are not acceptable in regards to how our people are treated, but we have to maintain our focus and understand what our national aspiration is. It's not to fight with alien races for these territories. It's to build our base on the continent of Africa. Any questions on that? But that goes back to our one aim, which was sovereign nation on the continent of Africa. Somebody will say something? Okay, Lady President, what is the highest service? She just told us this. What is the highest service a citizen can refer to in a community or organized society? Maintain and preserve peace. So again, this is the ideal design of what we consider a society. And Garvey says, highest service a citizen can refer to is to maintain peace. It wasn't it was the motto. One God, one aim, not the 11 aims and objectives, but the motto, one God, one aim, one destiny. Matter of fact, let's since we had 2 questions on that, we're going a little further. So I've got page 36 in my text on my notes. So 36, this will be the lesson 3 statement. And this is one of those things that, in my opinion, it's a sentiment that came up more than once. So I take it as important. Let's talk about it. Yes. Sovereign of a peoples and nations is over people and form a society to govern themselves to achieve their ends. Let's see, not what I thought. Independent expression. Oh yeah, the highest expression of independence is the sovereignty of a nation. So we are self-reliant, self-governing, and Garvey says the highest expression of independence is sovereignty of a nation. But we say highest form of self-reliance is self-governance. That's what we say today, but same thing. The highest expression of independence is in the sovereignty of a nation. All right. So that's our goal, is sovereignty of our nation. That's what we're fighting for. The other fights we are, reparations, suffrage, as we said, rights for our sisters. These are things that we work for in the process. But again, we must have a primary focus, and our primary focus is sovereignty on the continent of Africa, a nation of our own. Politics. What does Garvey say politics are? What are politics according to course of African philosophy?
Politics is the science of government that protects those human rights that are not protected by law.
Yes, sir. Science of government that protects those rights that are not protected by law. I think I had. Let me just put I think this was a Google definition. I Googled politics because again, this is Garvey's definition, but Webster and America has a definition. They described it, or at the time, Google described it as activities associated with the governance of a country or area, especially individuals hoping to achieve power. But the part of individuals hoping to achieve power is how I always related politics. Garvey says politics is a science of government that protects those human rights that are not protected by law. Questions, comments? Anybody want to say anything on that? Nothing too particular, nothing too serious. But one thing that I do think is serious, and y'all should understand at this point, we have to be clear on how, and this is one of the reasons why I love Garvey. He's very clear on his definition for terms. So when he says politics, he's saying politics is the science of government that protects those human rights that are not protected by law. When he says society, society is a organized, organization of mankind to safeguard, protect its own interests. So the definition for terms and ideas are clear, and there should be no ambiguity as to, I didn't know what you meant. Like, okay, you're not listening. Questions, comments? Number 12, why does Garvey say that we should know government officials? Page 22. Page 22. Speak up. You on it.
To know them before you have trouble is to get help when you are in trouble. Not to know them is to be at a disadvantage when you are brought before them. I was treating courteously and friendly, even if you don't mean it. I was such
everybody heard that? To get help when you are in trouble. I don't know what that is. This was page 22 related to, this is the quote from 22. Let me put it back down here. It says, A leader should always make it, and this is lesson 2. So in lesson 8, Garvey is stressing that we should know government officials proactively before we get in trouble, before we need them. And we got to understand what Garvey went through as far as his exile and imprisonment. But on page 22 in lesson 2, Garvey said, in leadership, he said, a leader should always make an effort to be known in his community. He must acquaint himself with everything that is happening. He must know the governor of the state or country, the secretary of his state or colonial secretary. He must know the mayor of his city and all the members of legislature. Must be known by the bishops of his city, the administrative heads of all government departments, all the preachers and doctors and lawyers and prominent businessmen. So this is another idea, concept that is repeated. So these concepts are, in my opinion, stressed by Garvey. He does not repeat himself. In my opinion, he doesn't repeat himself a lot. I think he even says he doesn't like to repeat himself. So when he does, I take that as important. I'm trying to get this other quote. For some reason, I'm having trouble. I don't want to do that. But I'll read it. People with different outlooks and of different races never join together except they are subdued. They always find independent expression and action. Okay, this is where it was. The highest expression of independence is in the sovereignty of a nation. I have that as national aspiration. Let me see what this YouTube is.
It's a link to a movie.
A movie?
Yeah, not a movie, but it's a clip from a movie called The Green Book. Well, I guess if you wanted to watch the short, I could say what happens, or it's not long. It's like a minute and a half, I guess.
Gotcha.
It's pretty cool. It's in. Actually, go ahead.
Well, I remember. Okay, it's starting to come back. It's when he was in jail, right?
Right. Yeah.
What happened here? This video isn't available anymore.
Oh, what? I know exactly what it was called. That was a pretty cool clip. It showed, it was a pretty good show. It's called The Green Book. If it's being recorded, it's a pretty good movie. You can probably rip it from somewhere. Not that that's a good thing that anyone should do.
Right. Yeah. Come on, man. What?
Oh, it's like 2.
This looks like it.
Make sure it's the one where he's wearing that tie.
It's my
No,
boss.
this ain't it.
Oh.
Wait, I think it is it.
That's why you drive him around. You half a nigga yourself. Win the violence. You only win.
Oh.
I want my call.
Yeah.
The nigga his goddamn phone call. You know what? Gone. No, I'm not. Chief Brad, who's this? Baloney. You're saying the boy we got locked up called who?
We'll give the music.
Then I do this. Got him. Found you.
All right. I do apologize. I don't.
The
He called
original
Kennedy,
clip that
right?
they cut was so much better. I'm gonna find it
Thank you.
eventually.
If you could, before the end of the meeting, that would be appreciated. I remember that now. It was, I think he had called Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy. But it was just in stressing the importance of knowing people and knowing who to call before you get in trouble. So that when you are in trouble, you can get out of trouble. Next question, and forgive me on the numbers. What is something we must never do in regards to politics and specifically politicians?
You must, you
Go
must
ahead.
never sell yourself to the politician.
Yes, sir. We must never sell ourselves to politicians. So we must never be indebted to politicians. Any questions, comments?
That's what's going on in Africa. That's why we have all these puppet leaders in some of the countries.
We gotta, and this, Garveyism is, it's 100 years. We got 100 years of Garveyism. But we still having the same issues that, I try to stay away from the title of Garvey as a prophet, but it seems like the things that we do as a people just prove, that he was prophetic in the things that he said and warned us against. But never sell yourself to the politician. Thank you, Brother Eric. We're going to get that in a second. What should we do to bring about reforms in the things that we think are right for our communities? So we're talking about solutions again. This is building on good reason and good judgment. But now we get into some concrete. These are things that you should do to bring about reforms that we think are right for our community. What's that? Make your, anybody else? I think that's voting is what I remember. Make your vote count. And again, I put owning property. You can't vote if you well, I don't know how it works exactly, but you want to be an owner of property, you want to have a address, where you live, not, owned by somebody else or you staying with somebody.
They didn't toss Oklahoma, like bombed them people out and that created that shore riot.
Yes, ma'am.
They not. That's historical.
That is. What are you saying?
On this property, don't mean that.
Well, yeah, I mean, but what's the alternative? But we already established that as we already have a primary goal is not to fight for what we have here. We just try to do the best that we can to. Yeah, sometimes we actually do too good. So when we make things too comfortable, we forget about the ultimate goal. But
look at all those blacks. They left the South, Chicago, California. They were in any place else other than stay here in this place where they were trying to own it.
Yeah. Yes, I mean that's you got me answering some tough questions, but I as to why that survival is the only thing I can think of as to why individuals migrated.
President, I was watching in the heat of the night, and I heard him say, in the North, they want you to get big, but they don't want you to get too close. In the South, they want you to get close, but they don't want you to get too big. So either way it goes, our people are just a threat. We're a threat amongst them. So it's not that it's a strategic way to overcome when concerning these people of non-color because we're a threat. So any sense of revolution or unity in our community is going to send up a red flag in theirs because they don't know what to expect because they can't clock us. They don't know how we're coming. So anytime like that, what Mama Lee was saying, to build up a society here, it will be kind of difficult because of how we got here, true enough, even though we are the Aboriginals or wherever, however, but this is where we are today, and God speaks about that a lot.
Yes.
Going from where we are today and going forward. So it's all about going to where we're celebrated and not tolerated. Like here we're being mostly tolerated, and we're tolerating the tolerated. Like we're all just, just putting up with just putting up. But the end goal being in Africa where we're appreciating, where our businesses can grow more, where we can help delegate the politicians there, we can, grow more. That'll be more of the solution. It's just my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it's survival, but at the same time, we have to have a level of progress, and the best way to achieve those is what I get from Garvey's teachings. It's surviving in the land that we're in, having a level of influence where we are, but not losing track of our ultimate goals. And I think the last part is where we as a people haven't been consistent, the ultimate goal.
I think I have like a client, and we were talking about getting him a house, but his main thing was, he's a Hispanic guy, and his main thing was talking about he wants a certain area where he can leave the house and go home, like 3 months at a time. And then I was thinking that's how we should be about Africa. But of course, there is the reason why we're seen as a threat when we unite, which is one of the way to our progress. Our unity is the way to our progress. But one of the reasons why we're seen as a threat when we unite is because the whole system of things in these United States is to maintain white supremacy. It's not like we're really a threat to anyone, maybe to ourselves in the community where people are disenfranchised, unfortunately. But I think the whole system of things is to maintain white supremacy, and there's nothing wrong with that, but we should strive to maintain Black supremacy.
Yes, yeah. And sometimes I guess just the alternative. We would rather live in communities where we own property as opposed to communities where we don't own property. That's where I'll leave that. Next question. What must we fight to maintain and or acquire in regards to politics globally? What should we fight to maintain or in our regards, no, maintain for us and acquire for others in regards to politics globally? Property. Yes, but there's something.
Suffrage, our voting, our influence.
Yes, suffrage is the word, and you're absolutely right. Voting is what suffrage means, but it's the right to vote. That's what Garvey says. We must fight to maintain the right to vote, and if we don't have it, if other groups don't have it, we must fight so that they can acquire that right. Huh? I don't know what we vote for in the 20s. These are not my opinions. We gotta argue Garvey's.
Property ownership and voting is very important.
Yeah, but you can't necessarily say that they're. But you can't say that they're always together. I would say that there's some cultures where and we've been in that situation where we can be owners, but you don't have the right to vote. Politics.
I guess in business, bring that up more so that you give that particular vote to one of the parties.
I mean, we're not responsible with our vote, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have value. The concept doesn't have value. We may misuse it, but You know what I'm saying?
It's two for me because I'm thinking more on the lines of voting in the UNIA. Thinking what that is. With the opportunities that we have to vote at the time, what I told you current voting process is.
See, hold on. We gotta take it all the way back. Society is made evident by the establishment of rules and laws. The rules and laws are determined through voting. Whether you're voting for that law directly or you're voting for a representative to speak on that law or give his opinion on that law or a body of representatives. But at the end of the day, we're in a very special place in Atlanta. We have voting, you know, and if we don't like what's going on, we have a voice, you know. We don't necessarily use it like we should, but at the end of the day, I know my district representative. You know what I'm saying? I know other district representatives. I know who the mayor is. I know how city council works. And I know that everyone that sits on that council is an elected official. You know, so I mean, even if we're not voting on it directly, we're voting for people to vote on it directly. You know, but it all comes, yeah, like when we're talking about a society, you know, even in the UNIA, for example, you know, as we develop laws and rules and procedures and recommendations to change our Constitution, the right to do that comes with the right to vote. You know what I mean? If you're not going to vote on it, what are we talking about? You know what I'm saying? Look, so we want to have the right to vote. We want to have a voice. You know, that's what the right to vote really comes down to is a voice. You know, whether giving your opinion in support or against something or abstaining to give an opinion. That's still a choice. So as a collective, as a people, you know, we got to be more politically conscious. You know, and that's something as a race, we've been talking about for a very long time.
I think so. In addition to be politically conscious, we need to have true representatives that are truly you know, like true representative, not just mouthpieces, you know, folks that are really ingrained with wanting to do the best for the Black community and a true representation. You know, I don't think we've seen any really strong, great Black leaders that you want to jump up and vote for. But that's not to say you still shouldn't vote. But I'm just saying we need to have, I guess, and that's where property ownership comes in. When you have property ownership, capital, and influence, and you have a united group that can, you know, make a big difference if we don't vote for certain people, then we can also demand what we want. So I think it all comes back to the same thing Garvey says when you think about it.
Yes, I mean, it does. And it's two levels to think about the political solution. The first level that we talk about and we promote is voting. And I agree with that. We should vote and we should have be selecting the right candidates to put in office. But the next level, the level that I pull as, you know, when I put my Garveyism hat on, it's not about just voting or knowing the right candidates. It's about running and developing yourself to be the right candidate. So if there's something that something that is needed in the community and we as a community don't see it there, we as Garveyites have a responsibility to provide that need. So we have to be examples. We have to be exemplary. If the current representative for our community is not doing it, we're going to show the community how it's supposed to be done, you know, and from that day forward, the community will have a example of how to do things a certain way. So we have to exemplary, you know, lesson 5, Christ. The high level, the bullseye is to be the example. If we can't be the example, at the very least, we got to have good character, you know, and be good citizens, and maintain peace within the society from this lesson's perspective. But those higher goals, we got goals, but goals have priorities, you know, and we got short-term goals and then we got long-term goals. And we cannot, you know, lose focus of our long-term, our ultimate goals. Who handles the international policies of the UNIA? Somebody talk about, let's build a division in Botswana. You know, that sounds international.
National.
I heard you, and you're right. Why do we got international officers? International organizer, international officers is the answer to that question. We know who the international officer or organizer is for the UNIA today.
International?
Yes. If we got a call from, I'm trying to think of Mali. We got a call from Mali and, you know, people say, hey, we want to start a division. What is the correct procedure, or what individuals do we need to go through to get that done? We should know this.
Are you asking for their names or the role name, like the title?
Title, actually, but
the title.
Yeah. Once you get the title, the name should be automatic. This is interesting. This is very important now, and I wish other brothers and sisters were on the call right now. I've been getting texts, about things going on in Haiti and my opinion on what's going on in Haiti and how we can have an impact. But I keep telling these individuals there's a process. And we, anything international outside of my jurisdiction, I have to get approval, and you're talking to the wrong person, basically. So who is our international officer or international organizer? All right.
From the New York office?
Probably. You could just.
What's the?
It's a tough one, honestly, because I just found out. But
who is it?
So.
Or sorry, I'll be patient. My fault.
Anybody? I mean, we it's 9:20. We still got to read. All right, y'all playing. So let me see. It used to be under our second assistant president general. He had the title of international organizer, and I need to get this clarified. So work with me, be patient with me. To my knowledge, the title of international organizer has moved to the president general. So to my understanding, last time I spoke with Secretary General, she was telling me that our international organizer was our president general, Michael R. Duncan.
Okay.
So just a procedural note. International affairs must go through our international offices. President General as of right now. I will confirm that, but that's my understanding. We will be submitting some paperwork to have because I think as of right now, the international, I don't know if there's an office. I don't know if there's an office to that, but I'm going to recommend that they create an office to where local divisions can have a part on the international organizer committee. But as of right now, that's limited to just like one person, everything international. All right, what are 2 signs of good government? Last couple questions. 2 signs of good government.
peace, like no violence,
Peace, no violence.
good economy.
Good economy.
Yeah.
I
I
like
would say reform too, because bad stuff's gonna happen. So I think a good turnaround would be a good quality also. But that's
good
me.
turnaround, peace, good economy. I like that. That's freestyle. You ain't reading. You're not coming from the book on that. That's good though. Anybody else? All right. Due to the sake of time. Always has a way to what?
Oh, I was just gonna say, this political difficulties and the interests of society and the community of which you are a part and of which you are a resident.
Yes. And I also, good governments always put down riots. So maintaining peace settles political difficulties in the interest of society. What was he saying about settle? Can you read that? That settle political difficulties in interest of society again?
A good government always has a way to settle its political difficulties in the interest of society and the community of which you are a part and of which you have a voice in.
Okay. I got it now. Remember when we talk about the first question of a definition of a society, maintain the greatest good for the greatest number. So society, a good government knows how to use politics to maintain the greatest good for the greatest number. Yeah, good governments always put down riots. Yes. So as soon as we start it, if we in a good government, they're gonna shut it down. That's a sign of a good government. When we riot against the government, who are we rioting against? What's that?
Ourselves.
Absolutely. Because the government cannot exist without you. So again, the society, we're creating a society. Society is a collection of individuals that come together to form that society. And they, in essence, you become a part of that government. When you become a tax-paying citizen, you are now a part of that government. When you riot and you have the police, that you pay come out to quell the riot that you started, you're working against yourself, and you're rioting against yourself. You're paying for your own disturbance. According to Garvey. When the Constitution is insufficient to give you all the protection that you need, how do we change it? Vote for change, do not riot for change.
Change by political action.
Political action. I got UNIA history divisions. When the Constitution is sufficient to give you all the protection you need, how do you change it?
Oh, because we go and again, it's interesting and we're not satisfied. Make up those proposals and the agency represent them.
Excellent. Yes. So Attorney Motep, I'm still working. Everyone on this call, Brother Eric, you asked this question specifically. What are the next steps? After Course of African Philosophy, after we go through the training, what's the next thing to master? It's the Constitution. We really got to get into the Constitution and clean it up. It's a great document. But I know I'm gonna put, we are probably most likely the only division that is really talking about studying the Constitution and improving the Constitution from a holistic standpoint. Other divisions, from my knowledge, they may have suggestions or things that they want to change or propose, but it's not not many divisions are really working on the Constitution. So that is going to be our next big endeavor. I want everyone to go through the Constitution, develop resolutions, develop amendments, changes, whether it's male, female positions, which is something simple that we're going to address, or different ages for groups or titles. That's the next thing that we're going to discuss. So Constitution is that's the last frontier to my knowledge. Once we master the Constitution, there's nothing, there should be nothing, there is nothing that can really stop us, and I don't mean us as a division, but I mean us as a race. We can. I have. It's been a couple years. That thing ain't no joke. That thing ain't no joke. That thing ain't no joke. We can do that. I look at race first, and it's very important, but I'm being selfish though, because like I've already read it and I know it. Nah, it ain't the same. This is nourishment. You know what I'm saying?
That's like revolutionary.
That's history. It's like facts in history. Like, all right, this happened here and this did. I'm like, okay, I remember that. Like what else? But it ain't no, what do I do to improve the conditions of my communities type thing. Like it's not, that's what I, strive for. But Kwanzaa. We're gonna be here on Kwanzaa. First day of Kwanzaa, 26. We're gonna have Kwanzaa here. We're still putting the details together, but everyone, please be prepared to join us here at Omen Alegrio on the 26th of December. Thank you, Mom Mina, for that reminder. Now that y'all got it, got other people working, I don't have to do everything. It's a surprise to hear that things are already in place. So that's good. 26th December. Questions, comments on the questions for tonight? Lady President, you want to do the reading? Okay. I got to get better with the time. I don't know what's going on, but I don't know. Like I used to be able to do this in an hour and a half. Can't get on there now. You let me. It's getting late, man. But you got to flip.
Okay.
You ready to go?
I forgot.
All right.
Too late.
Bob
James.
All right. Lady President, go ahead.
Okay, lesson 9, diplomacy. Diplomacy is a word used to express the peculiar relationship between nations. Diplomacy is the relationship that nations use to conduct their communications or approach in dealing with matters of state and to affect the relationship of a certain nature between them. In the broader sense, diplomacy means the thoughtful and careful consideration of words and ideas expressed to reduce the words and ideas to the level of being the least offensive, while they carry the force of what is desired to the maximum. To be diplomat, one has to be very careful in his expressions before indulging in them. He must think seriously and calculatingly so that his thoughts and words may have the desired effect without arousing suspicion or inviting hostility. You must first be a very skillful thinker and psychologist to be a diplomat. A diplomat never reveals his true state of mind. He never reveals his hand in dealing with the situation. He always keeps a line of defense for whatever he says or does in reserve. A diplomat never talks before he thinks. He thinks in an idea over several times before he expresses it. The idea is that he must not be found wanting or on the wrong side of any question. If he is found on the wrong side, his efforts at diplomacy fail. He must be able to read other people's minds and intentions and use that knowledge to safeguard and protect himself in the interests he represents. A skillful diplomat is always master of the situation. He is able to fool or deceive others to gain his point. He never exposes himself to be taken advantage of. He always leaves a loophole for escape from danger or trouble. His language is always couched in a manner to carry weight in the particular direction, but at the same time not to be so offensive or revealing as to cause the person dealt with as to cause the person dealt with to immediately jump at conclusions by the completeness of the thought expressed. In fact, a diplomat always gives out expressions that carry double meanings or more than double meanings, so that if one interpretation is dangerous to affecting a good relationship, he can always fall back and say it was not intended that way. In diplomacy, if you mean to take advantage of the other person, never open a suggestion, but gauge your words most carefully to ultimately win that in view without expressing it in the wrong. A good way to get good results is to actually feed your opponent with good words that mean nothing. And then when you come down to the business part, you hold your ground, but still use good and pleasant words to win. Never approach anybody that you want to get anything out of or any good results from in an offensive manner. To the contrary, win them with the perfect smile in the most gentle manner. Do this even with your enemy, until your enemy has positively delivered himself and there is no other alternative than show your hand. Never show your hand at the start. The idea is to make friends and to get results, rather than make enemies and lose results. This must be applied to all phases of organization work, dealing with the race and dealing with others of the race and dealing with others of other races. It is said that a kind word turneth away wrath. It is good diplomacy. Even if a man is going to kill you by threatening you, it is best to smile with him before he actually carries out the intention, so as to prevent him from doing so by showing him a smile rather than to suggest the gravity of your indignation, which will cause him to think that you are going to kill him first. Then he will surely kill you in self-defense, even though he first threatened you. Many men have been killed with their assailant did not really mean to kill them, but only to bluff them. But in taking the matter too seriously and showing that he was going to do some killing too, he gets killed by the man protecting himself after his threat to keep him from being killed. Never lose your head in dealing with the problem, because in doing so, you are bound to blunder and ultimately lose. If you are in an accident where you come face to face with death, don't lose your head, because you may need your calm and collective judgment to save your life. The moment you lose your head, you are taking chances. The odds are against you. Morally, a diplomat must be a scamp, and that he must be a mental twister. He cannot deal with affairs with a clean conscience, because he is to anticipate the evil of other men's designs, because the world and mankind are immoral and dishonest in their behavior. He necessarily has to adopt such a method as to safeguard himself or his interests from such designs. You cannot be a true Christian before the act, but become so afterwards by repentance, which is personal. If you are protecting the interests of others, you have to sink your own personality, but still recognize the fact that you are responsible to those others. Therefore, you have to adopt all the methods of diplomacy to protect others. Hence, you cannot do so with a very Christian soul, because most of the souls you are dealing with are corrupt. After you have dealt with them and you have won your point, if there was any act that was immoral or crooked, which enabled you to win your point, then pray afterwards for forgiveness, but not before. Be sure that the act is done and leave the act where it is. If it is in the interest of others, then square your conscience with God. The truth is going to affect you. The truth is going to affect your cause, then never speak of it. If the truth is going to affect your cause, then never speak of it. But go around in it but go around it in every kind of ambiguous way to justify your lie to save the cause. If you have won your cause by a lie, then as early as possible, try to make the cause right, but only after you have won. For no cause can continue successfully without righteousness of the thing from all your imaginative experience. Never give up in seeking support. If one logic fails, use another until you have talked out your opponent by some balance of justification. You may say, I don't mean so-and-so. It was not the way I intended it. I have a different idea entirely. You are misunderstanding me. You have a misconception of what I mean. You probably didn't hear me when I said so-and-so. I may admit that I was not clear enough, but I didn't mean what I said, I didn't mean what you say. Then be able to build up a new argument on that and let the thing that you are arguing about take a back seat so that they will forget what you were arguing about and take you up on the other things you have said and make that the debate. Thereby you leave the situation where it was for another time. Always try to leave the other fellow away from the true idea. If you are on the wrong side, build up a new argument and hold him on that until you have worn him out. Let him say that it is not the argument, then still persist in something else. Always profess friendship for your enemy so as to disarm him. Don't refer to him as Mr. Brown. Say, my good friend, Mr. Brown. I cannot understand why my good friend is so opposed to me. I have always thought of him as a kindly disposed man and very good fellow, but always watch him. Don't take any chances. Offer your enemy gifts that you can afford to lose, so as to win him like the Greeks bringing gifts. Your words must be formed and positive when you want to commit other people. For instance, do you intend to pay my money? Have you made your mind to answer my letter? Always let it be a question that can be answered with a yes or no. Don't suggest to anybody in long sentences. When you ought to commit yourself, do so in veiled language and never finally commit yourself until you are ready to close the matter. Always try to escape giving yes or no to any question that is important. If you have to say yes or no, do so in long explanations so that you may escape out of the explanation from the positive answer. If trouble is involved, it becomes your defense. Always try to leave in your remarkable words room for a controversy or denial of meaning as decided on by the other party. When you want to protect yourself and trap the other fellow, let him write you short sentences by leading him up to such manner of reply. When you have to answer, make your sentences long and capable of taking many interpretations. If you want to close the matter directly to your interest, then clinch it by accepting his argument in short sentences that cannot be misunderstood in law or arbitration. When you are inviting explanations, make your sentences very short and to the point. When you are asked to give explanations, consider carefully if you should make your sentences long or short. Use direction. Always allow the other fellow to talk first by leading him. Let him talk of everything in his manner so that you may know your man. Never let him lead you out. Always be reserved. In a word, be a good listener. Then when you have everything on the other fellow, decide the situation and take action. To get a man to talk, offer him courtesy, offer him a drink, offer him a cigar, etc. Say, it's a beautiful day, isn't it? To get a man to talk, offer him courtesy, Offer him a drink, a cigar, etc. Say, it's a beautiful day, isn't it? How have you been doing lately? Are you comfortable where you live? What do you think of so-and-so? If he is reticent. If he is reticent, you know you have had a hard customer to deal with. Then find out his weakness by investigation, and when you find it, invite him back again and cater to that weakness. His weakness may be for the ladies. Invite him to meet your best friend and get your friend to pump him up, to pump him and tell him you want and tell you what you could not get from him yourself. If you are dealing with the opposite sex, do the same thing. If he is addicted to drinking, give him a few extra drinks and let him talk. But you must not drink as much as he. Otherwise, you will be in the same position. Use your skill in letting him believe that you are drinking too, but don't drink. If you cannot get him by yourself, get his friend to tell you all he knows about him. If the knowledge possessed by the person is important to you, never stop following him. Even if you have to go 6,000 miles, directly or indirectly, directly or indirectly to get your information. You may get it through an agent, a neighbor of his, or a person he does business with. Follow every clue of an association until you get your information about the subject. Never accept invitations from your enemies. Always find some excuse with kind thanks. If you have once injured a man, never trust him completely because he is always waiting for his chance to get even with you. Never talk your personal business or the business of your cause to a stranger. Tell him nothing until you know him sufficiently. Don't accept complete friendship on first approach. Carefully find out if he or she is worthy of being a good and true friend. Otherwise, you may find yourself in the ditch. Never give valuable papers or anything of value to a first acquaintance or a cordial friend or neighbor to keep. If the documents are very valuable by way of information, don't allow even members of your own household to keep them. Keep them secretly and privately because you don't know who may give you away, even innocently. There is always a third person in everybody's life. Be careful of that third person. That person may come between a man and his wife, a brother and his brother, a sister and her sister, a father and his children, a mother and her children. Remember, there is always a third person, and that third person may not like you very much. Also, be careful of the second person because the third person always comes through the second person. You may quarrel with the second person sometimes, and in the passion of revenge, which you may regret afterwards, the second person may reveal your secrets. Therefore, take your secrets to the grave and only let God know about them. Never lose your head and divulge anything that would mean trouble for you with the law. The person who has the secret may change his mind about you and turn you in, even after 20 years. Many people get into trouble without knowing where the trouble comes from. Sometimes it comes right from your own home, by talking too much in your own home and by the circles in your home not appreciating your position. They innocently give the information out to other parties who are not interested in you, but are probably interested in seeing that the one you have offered gets justice. Therefore, the person prefers to see you hang rather than see his friend whom you have injured go without justice because of what you might have done to that person in your secret.
Thank you, Lady President. That completes the reading for lesson 9 titled Diplomacy. We'll give a minute or so for questions. I forgot to give a heads up before we got into this lesson. This is probably one of the most misunderstood, misused, and dangerous lessons in this entire text. First word, and this will be a question next week, is obviously how does Garvey define diplomacy? And Garvey says diplomacy is a word used to express the peculiar relationship between nations. So that's the main thing. It's a relationship between nations. People see you don't have to be honest and ask for forgiveness later, and they tend to use that within the organization. But this lesson is specifically detailed for nations interacting with other nations. So these are strategies that we as a collective use when dealing with other nations, but we should not be using these strategies within our own nation. So I'll open it briefly for questions, comments, and then we'll close out.
I actually do want to point out something we skipped over in there. One of the words that we moved past was discretion. And just because it's being recorded again, one of the definitions for discretion is the freedom to decide what should be done in a particular situation, but it's telling the difference. It's what is really, 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 really important. He said use it, yeah. Look up the use discretion. It was he wrote it in there. It's 2 words with a period that he put at the end of a paragraph. That's I don't like that format is, it's subtle, but that doesn't make it not important. Discretion is really good with that's important to diplomacy. And like you said, it was this is misused.
Yes.
And taken in different ways. And he says to take it in different ways, but discretion, we're supposed to choose the right one. So I just that part there.
Yeah. But yeah, when we think about our divisions as Garveyites, disagreements and creations of different organizations, a lot of that mentality is reflected in this lesson. People trying to take diplomacy in their own
it's you still have to go with the society and like the majority. It's still like you can disagree, but like there's 50-50 and then there's like 80-20. I would say society's 80-20, but they say it's 50-50. You still got to be with that 80 regardless.
Yes,
so
and
take that with discretion.
Yes, excellent point. And as I've always mentioned, my approach to this text is building upon itself. This is some people's first time going through it. That's a very special time. But as Brother Eric kind of relayed, this is building upon what we've defined as an ideal quote unquote society, and how to function and how to be diplomatic within that structure, but not, as we live in reality, and how we can take advantage of these lessons in reality.
Yes. Think about it from what you can do and should. There's 2. It's not just can. There's more than one. So no, that goes into the writing and the stuff. Oh, don't forget the green book. That was a cool. That was a cool theme.
But it's when you say can and should.
Can and should.
That goes back to, for me, the Holy Spirit and the free will. Free will is can, but Holy Spirit is should.
Yes.
So they gotta be in line.
Is should, and acting is, I guess, can. That's like suffrage and stuff, I guess. That movie is about a black pianist which is someone who plays the piano.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I'm familiar with the film. I learned a little bit about the brother, but I was more so connected with the concept of the Green Book. I forgot. I know the brother was like a postmaster, a mailman or something, but brother had put together a collection of safe places for African Americans to stop at as they travel through the South. That's what that book was based around, and that film was loosely based on that book with a lot of the pianist brother. I don't. You remember the brother's name?
It was Donald something. Don Shirley. Donald Shirley.
Okay.
What? Bro, this is January 29, 1927 to April 6, 2013. Oh my God.
Hmm.
It's a long time. I didn't think that was recent. I'll be quiet.
But yeah, any other questions, comments? It's 9:54 before we close out. Great job, everybody. We're not halfway through, but we are slowly but surely making progress. As I said, my understanding, the way I look at the text 1 through 7 is about us as individuals. It's about looking at the mirror and developing yourself before you look at anybody else. When we got into lesson 8, started talking about society. So as we look out into the world, as we look out from our homes and we see, everything around us, we have to understand how to identify society and how to know when you're leaving your nation and entering someone else's nation, and you have to apply by and live under their rules and their traditions. Lesson 9, we did lesson 9, right? Yeah, lesson 9, diplomacy, basically helps us understand how to manage those relationships, and how to interact with other nations outside of our own society. But I'll have a little bit more. I'll have some graphics, some basic graphics to kind of go over what, a visual representation of what we've studied thus far and how we can apply it in real time. But it's very, very basic. But it may still help. All right. I ain't got nothing else, man. It's almost 10. Any last words in closing?
I actually do have one more thing real fast. Only because I just found out. When the hierarchy of people, I guess would be a good way to put it. President General Michael R. Duncan. Yes. He has a radio show. So yes. While we're putting stuff out, I just found out about that, literally reading it. So he has a radio show on Mondays and Tuesdays. It's Tuesday night. I missed it, but
actually that is no longer active, but they do have community focus.
What?
They were.
I listened to one of the show. It's pretty good.
You said what?
It's interesting. I listened to one of the episodes. It's pretty good. That's a while back though.
They're or does he? You know if he? I'll find it. I'm gonna find it because I said short. Because that's crazy. We need, because that goes back to what you were saying about the voting. I was trying to keep quiet because the flow of it, but a problem that we have is that we don't know about things, the outreach and the type of, like, we don't think we have the influence and impact that we do. We have a lot. We got a ton. And a radio show like that is really, really, really cool.
Yes.
Cool. I just found out about that. That's what I wanted to mention.
I got you. Yeah, we need individuals like yourself, but we need everyone to do their part. And we're in a social media age, so it's really about us as individuals promoting things. And
the right things too. Sorry.
When our community sees 100, 200 people posting about the same thing, at the same time, that brings attention towards it. So I understand what you're saying, Brother Eric. There are individuals that are pushing this stuff out, but I don't think, obviously we're not doing it loud enough, well enough, often enough. So I'll take that, I'll take that in concern. But this is, UNIA Rock Media. And obviously, if you don't know, we have our Division 421 media as well, which is a very great resource. And y'all should know about this because I got the links to the trainings in the email. But all of our recent meetings, the meeting that we had with the Moors a couple weeks back is up there. This is from 2020 when we were talking about what a garbage is, but definitely share media promote our media, and I'm gonna give y'all the official. Let me do this right. UNIA-ACL. What I do wrong? I mean, I spent some money. So this is our parent body site. They have a media page. To find us, we all the way at the bottom with everybody else, but our page is down here. Chicago, Baltimore, and Atlanta. And this also will direct you to the community focus radio show. So a couple ways to digest some of the media that we got going down. They just dropped the video 1 hour ago. So while we were working.
What?
Looks like
Oh, sorry. I thought I was muted. I'm sorry.
You all right? All right. Well, let's get out of here. We can all watch the parent bodies stream later this evening, but I know it's 10 o'clock. We gotta get some rest, man. We got get up and do this all again tomorrow. All right. No further comments, questions. Everybody good? Everybody we good? We go. All right. He knocked out. You did? You gonna close us out? You good? You got enough of that? Since 5 in the morning. Go ahead.
One God,
One God,
One God,
one aim,
one aim,
One aim,
one destiny.
one
one
destiny.
one
destiny.
destiny.
Africa,
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 African,
for the Africans,
for the Africans,
For the
those at home,
Africans.
those
Those
abroad,
at home,
those at home,
race first.
race first.
those abroad.
those
Race
abroad.
first.
Peace, everybody. Brother Eric, I've been talking to Lady President about your message, about other, more to get involved in. That's part of the reason why I mentioned the Constitution stuff, but we'll be in touch with you soon. We gotta, figure
Yep,
some
it's a
things out.
process.
And
It's a
definitely
big
we want to
process.
know, we don't want to, pigeonhole you in something we think is best for you, but we want to know your aspirations, and what you see for yourself and how we can help you achieve that.
All
All right, get out of here. Race first.
right. See you.
Race first. Good night, everyone.
Right.
Race first.